An extraordinary scene took place a few days ago in the European Parliament. It was an event that on the surface appeared to be like many others. A head of state came and gave a speech to the elected representatives of European democracy. But it was clear that this was no ordinary parliamentary session from the moment the ushers walked up to the presidency table proclaiming that President Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine was entering the chamber, and then when the whole hemicycle erupted into cheers and applause. What made the session even more extraordinary was the scene at the end, when President Zelenskyy and the Parliament's President Roberta Metsola stood together holding a large blue flag with 12 golden stars arranged in a circle. The flag of the European Union has for years now been adopted by Ukrainians as a symbol of their hopes for freedom and protection. And that in turn serves as a healthy reminder of what a success story European integration is, despite its ups and downs, despite the regular crises and setbacks. And such reminders are in fact all around us, all across Europe, and we can easily notice them if we simply put aside, from time to time, the usual cacophony of political disagreement and recriminations. For example, here in the city of Brussels, this year of 2023 is the 80th anniversary of a little-known event that also serves as a reminder of how far Europe has come in the past 8 decades, after the destruction inflicted on the continent by Hitler and the Nazis. The event in question, which happened 80 years ago, was a daring attack, the likes of which happened nowhere else in Europe throughout the Second World War. 3 young men from Brussels, armed with just one light pistol, attacked a heavily armed convoy which was carrying more than 1,000 Jews to the Auschwitz extermination camp. What happened that night of 20th of April 1943 is a story of extraordinary courage, and it is fitting to commemorate this 80th anniversary to remember the heroic acts of those 3 young men who took on the Nazi machine against all odds, and it also serves to remember the ruins from which most of Europe has built a successful union. That story will come at the end of the episode. Also in today's letter, how the Romanian city of Timisoara is going digital, how EU cities and regions are helping victims of the earthquake in Türkiye and Syria, why wolves are causing a heated debate about subsidiarity, and the message for the whole of Europe given to me by a Ukrainian refugee. I'm Sean O'Kernin, and this is Letter from Brussels, bringing you stories about the EU's capital city and about how the Union is functioning on the ground. It's brought to you by the Renew Europe Group in the European Committee of the Regions. The Romanian city of Timisoara has big ambitions. The city, which started the revolution against the tyrant Nicolae Ceausescu in 1989, is, 34 years later, one of the 3 European Capitals of Culture 2023. Located on the westernmost tip of Romania, Timisoara is less than 100 kilometers away from Hungary and only 50 from Serbia. Launching the Capital of Culture celebrations, Timisoara's mayor, Dominic Fritz, reflected on the city's heritage and said, "We are proud of every community in Timisoara, Hungarian, German, Jewish, Serbian, Bulgarian, Roma, and many others who have been living here for centuries in a continuous, constructive dialogue. We are the European capital of culture not only because we are proud of this heritage, but also because we are convinced that the values that have shaped us are relevant for today's Europe." Placing Timisoara on the European map is what drives Mayor Fritz, and that means placing Timisoara on the virtual online map too. Valentin Mureșan is the mayor's advisor on digitalization. A former executive of a global technology company, Mureșan has piloted Timisoara's impressive strategy for digital transformation. And after 2 years of extensive consultations with citizens, businesses, and other stakeholders, the city has mapped out its digital strengths and weaknesses and is now embarking on a set of objectives to become a smart city within 5 years. This includes increasing from 8% to 30% the number of people paying their municipal taxes online, from 10% to 60% the number of people submitting requests online to the city administration, and increasing from 2 to 5 the number of smartphone apps provided by City Hall that are relevant for citizens. Already under development are an app to submit complaints, as well as an app to provide useful information about the city, such as road closures or transport breakdowns, and yet another app that will give access to all the documentation related to any given construction project. There will be a platform for talent matching to help businesses recruit people with the desired profile and to help vulnerable groups access the job market. And there will be help for older and disabled people to navigate the online services. The digital world is here to stay, and some people love it and embrace it, while others fear it and resist it. That's why, when the European Commission's Vice President responsible for the digital age, Margrethe Vestager, addressed the plenary of the Committee of the Regions on the 8th of February, she said that the task of political leaders and public administrations is to ensure that digital technologies fit around the human, so that humans should not have to fit around the technology. And she invited local leaders, businesses, and activists to sign up to a website that is bringing together all relevant partners at all levels of government who are involved in building the Union's digital society. The website is found at living-in.eu. Living in EU. Coming up in a few minutes, the daring attack by 3 young men from Brussels 80 years ago on a fully armed convoy headed for Auschwitz. But first, some news in brief. Following the devastating earthquake in Türkiye and Syria, many of Europe's regions and municipalities have mobilized their resources to provide help. French regions are providing first aid kits as well as funds to help Turkish subnational authorities to rebuild their communities. The Belgian regions of Wallonia and Flanders have donated a total of 3 million euros. The city of The Hague has given €500,000 to aid organizations. The president of Renew Europe, François de Coster, mobilized the Franco-Turkish Association in his municipality of Saint-Omer to collect citizen donations such as children's clothes, blankets, tents, and generators. These are just some examples of how Europe's subnational government has responded to the tragedy. Wolves have become the focus of a heated discussion. A protected species across the whole of the Union, they are a key part of Europe's biodiversity, and their population has steadily grown in recent years. The regional minister of Cantabria in Spain, Paula Fernandez, explained during the CIWAR plenary that in her region the population has almost doubled in the last decade, and the number of livestock killed by the wolves is also rising steadily. In Sweden, from almost no wolves existing in the 1960s, there are now several hundred, making the management of reindeer herds much more difficult as they can disperse over great distances following a wolf attack. Where lies the right balance between humans and wolves? How should farmers be compensated for the loss of livestock? How can the attacks be prevented? And who should decide on population levels? Should it be the European level because biodiversity is a key part of protecting the environment? Or should it be the regional level because not all parts of Europe are affected in the same way? Lots of questions with no simple answers. The debate will continue. Jane is a Ukrainian refugee whom I met while visiting Timisoara for the launch of Capital of Culture. Together with Angela, Dalina, and Emise, who are from Timisoara, they run the support center for refugees. They have been running the center since the start of the war, helping refugees find accommodation, complete administrative procedures, learn Romanian, find work, stay strong and united. Jane asked me to relay a message to the rest of Europe. Please keep supporting us until our victory, she said. On the 19th of April 1943, 80 years ago, during the Nazi occupation of Belgium, 3 young men from the resistance cycled out from the city of Brussels in a northeasterly direction and stationed themselves about 10 kilometers outside the city of Mechelen. They had received information that a convoy would be leaving that city carrying more than 1,000 Jews to a destination somewhere in Eastern Europe, supposedly to carry out work in a concentration camp. Although the existence of the Auschwitz extermination camp was not yet widely known, the appalling repression against Jews by the Nazis had been steadily increasing in occupied Belgium since October 1940. Jews had lost their jobs in public administration and universities. Jewish children had been banned from schools. Jews older than 6 had been forced to wear the yellow Star of David whenever in public. And now they were being arrested, detained in the Dosan military barracks in Mechelen, mistreated, deprived of freedom and dignity, and then deported in mass numbers. By April 1943, there had been 19 convoys, almost 19,000 people of all ages deported. All of this was known, and Jura Lifschitz, Jean Frankelmann, and Robert Mestriot were determined to attack the 20th convoy to help as many deportees as they could. All they had was a small pistol, a lamp, and some wire cutters. Close to midnight, the train with more than 30 cattle wagons carrying 1,631 people of all ages, from a 39-day-old baby to a 100-year-old man, came rumbling out of the Dosan barracks. On board the train were 2 wagons full of heavily armed men, there to shoot at any deportees trying to escape. Jura and his friends lit the lamp and gave the signal that would cause the driver to bring the train to a standstill. In the chaos that followed, the armed guards fired at the 3 resistance fighters, forcing Jura and Jean back. Robert managed to reach one of the wagons, cut the wires, and open the door. Despite the guards firing, 17 deportees jumped out. Robert told them to lie low, and as the train started moving again and the firing stopped, he gave them each some money and told them to disperse. In the Jewish Talmud, it is said that whoever saves a single life saves the whole world. Although 17 is a small number of all the deportees on the 20th convoy, those 17 would never have managed to escape without the courage and determination shown by Jura, Jean, and Robert. Weeks later, Jura was denounced by someone he thought was a friend, and he was arrested and executed. Jean and Robert survived the war. Of the more than 1,000 people who arrived at Auschwitz on the 20th convoy, only 151 lived long enough to see Auschwitz liberated from the Nazis. All the others had been murdered in the gas chambers or died of starvation and disease. Every year, the 27th of January, the day that Auschwitz was liberated, is Holocaust Remembrance Day, when we remember the 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Roma who were murdered by the Nazis. Europe has come a long way since those darkest of dark days. But as European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said on this year's Remembrance Day, anti-Semitism did not end with the Holocaust. Holocaust denial, distortion, and trivialization is on the rise. And that is why the words of the mayor of Timisoara celebrating diversity and building bridges between different local communities are so powerful. It is local leaders like him who build harmony at local level that help build a European Union at peace with itself, united in diversity. If you would like to read Timisoara's digitalization strategy or visit the Living in EU website, you will find the links at reneweurope-cor.eu/podcast.